So if you tuned into our last episode, you'd know that we hit the motherlode of conch in the Berry Islands, and then we moved over to the Exhumas, where we ended up in Allen Key, and we found some evidence of local dinosaurs, and these little critters were not shy. In today's episode, we visit Highbourne Key and then off to Norman's Key. It had a checkered past and a nice sunken airplane to dive by. And then we move on to Shroud Cay in the Exhuma Land and Sea Park, where there is a lot to do and see in the many mangrove-lined canals. Have you ever dreamed of selling it all and cruising into the sunset? Well, that's exactly what we did. It's no fun going it alone though, so why don't you join us for the ride? So our first stop today was at Highbourne Key, which features a first-class marina and villa rentals, and is kind of known as the gateway to the Exhuma Islands at the northern end of the Exhumas. We thought about taking on diesel here. It's got a really nice protected marina, very calm, and I think it was $6.25 a gallon, which seems somewhat reasonable, but we thought we maybe could get it cheaper further down the Exhumas, and we didn't really need that, so we just decided to tour the resort. Guests there have a nice little private beach and a restaurant perched on the hill called Exhuma. We thought about maybe eating there, but I looked at the menu and saw the $30 hamburger and said, you know what, I think we're going to skip it this time. Nonetheless, they have a well-stocked little grocery market there at the marina. So Lori took the opportunity to stock up on some produce and some other items. And there's a little bit of sticker shock, but something that we've come to expect in the Bahamas, where a head of romaine or a package of 3 heads of romaine was like $14. A tiny sour cream was like $8.75, so things are really expensive there, so you wouldn't want to do your full shopping, but definitely stock up on those kind of in-between items you need. So from Highbourne Key, we moved south down to Norman's Key. Norman's Key has a large landing strip, and we anchored right next to it on the beach side to be protected from the east winds. Norman's Key has a somewhat checkered past, as at one point it was a gateway to the Bahamas for drug smuggling by the Medellin cartel. You can see on this map where the arrow is where we anchored, just off the beach and sort of perpendicular to the airstrip. One of the things that Norman's Key is popular for is diving a fuselage of a sunken aircraft. Apparently, many years ago, there was a Curtiss C-46 transport plane that was being flown into the airport by an inebriated pilot, somebody who wanted to show it off to the drug cartel as a possible cargo type transport plane, and either came in too hot or missed a runway or something and had to ditch the plane in the sea, and now it's become quite a tourist attraction. Though the crash happened in 1980, it's still relatively intact, and you can definitely see the wings and a large part of the fuselage. It was a pretty low tide that day, and we didn't take the opportunity to dive it, but our friend Julie was able to get us some really nice footage. Back on the beach, we found McDuff's Cottage and Restaurant, and we had heard some good things about it. It looked pretty cool from the beach side, so we took a walk through to get a better look. The restaurant had a very cool island vibe with indoor and outdoor seating, excellent decor, and we were allowed to take pancake there and sit outside, so of course we made reservations for that evening. Truth be told, well, they too had a $30 hamburger on the menu, but they had a lot of other great things, and it just looked so outstanding. We all said we really had to come here for dinner. The entranceway to the cottages and restaurant was very inviting and definitely cast a nice first impression.
Hello, so we have a nice date night tonight to a beautiful restaurant called McDuff's on Norman Island, the old drug lord island. And we're starting off with some cocktails. Lori made me a nice vodka martini in a Yeti cup, of course.
Jay, I'm not drinking my favorite wine. I'm drinking box wine, sadly, here in the
box wine.
Bahamas, but hey.
Boat life.
Cheers.
Cheers. So how was your day today?
It was fabulous.
Yeah. What was the best part of the day?
I think just swimming at the beach with Chris, Julie, you, the pancake. It's a beautiful beach here.
Norman Cay.
Norman Cay. We got here like lunch, and you know, as much as it's a little rolly and windy, it's actually a nice breeze, and I think we'll enjoy it later tonight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to my dinner tonight, date night, and you know, just kind of got dressed up a little.
Cool.
You know, since Valentine's Day, you know, a whole 2 weeks. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers.
So dinner was absolutely fabulous at McDuff's, and when we woke the next morning, we found that there was another PDQ anchored here, and this one is a 41. There were only 11 built. I think 10 are still in existence, 7 feet larger than ours, but interesting to finally see a 41 in person. So later in the morning, we left for an area of the Exhumas called the Exhuma Land and Sea Park. It comprises a number of islands established in 1958 as the first land and sea park in the world, and it's a protected area. There's no fishing, lobstering, shellfishing, etc. You can't take anything out of there. There's no services in there. There's actually no cell phone services, but it's a really nice national park created in the Bahamas. Anchoring in Exhuma Land and Sea Park is 50 cents per foot per night, or you could pick up a mooring ball if available for, I believe, $30 a night, and I'm sure all of that money goes to preservation of the park. You could pay that online. So much of it is on the honor system. At Shroud Cay, we anchored at the Red X, and where the red arrows are entrances to 3 different mangrove canals that are really nice to take your dinghy up on high tide to. All of them a little bit different, but teeming with all kinds of life, turtles, a shark here and there, and coral reefs. The anchorage itself was very calm, and we had great protection from the east winds. Pancake took advantage of the cool breezes and calm waters to get a much needed spa treatment. So one concern I have is our ability to replenish the batteries during the day from our solar panels. So I learned a little trick to reposition the boat where normally it faces into the wind, but I positioned the stern where the solar panels are so that I could get full sun during the day. You can see these boats on mooring balls all facing into the wind where we're perpendicular. This is an entrance to one of the 3 major mangrove lined canals, and has a really nice beach, and it's very wide. A lot of people swim here during the day, and the currents aren't too bad. And it's best to go at high tide though, because it can get very low. The filming doesn't really capture how blue and how clear the water is here, but it really does look amazing. We were trying to catch up to a sea turtle here, and it proved to be pretty difficult because once they see you coming, they turn on the turbo and they really move fast. It seems like 10-20 miles an hour underwater. The northernmost mangrove canal empties back into the Exhuma Sound, I believe, and it's an area called the washing machine, probably because it's a little bit turbulent when the tide is in full force. It's a very popular place to stop though, because it has a beautiful beach. You could take a nice hike up the hill and see the surrounding views. And it's also very popular for folks who want to jump in at one end and then float through the washing machine as long as the current isn't too strong, which we didn't really observe it being strong at all. It's maybe a 5 to 10 minute hike up the hill, and we were certainly glad we did because the views did not disappoint. My only recommendation is don't do it barefoot like we did. Definitely have on some sandals or sneakers. This is a nice perspective of the canal system, and you can really see how wide they are and how blue they are. Back down on the beach, Lori and Julie couldn't wait to accept the challenge and float through the washing machine. Being an incoming tide, it definitely was safer, and they seemed to have a blast. On the way back, the wind settled down and there was barely a ripple in the water, so we were able to get some nice shots of the wildlife. We spent 2 full days at Shroud Cay, exploring all the canals, and would highly recommend. As always, thank you for watching, and tune in to our next episode where we will do some more exploring of the Exhuma Land and Sea Park.